What did you just do? You deserved it!
In wealthy woman publicly slaps black woman, then learned she's a billionaire's wife. A humiliating slap at an upscale boutique spirals into a powerful saga of arrogance, racism, resistance, and poetic justice. Clarissa Houghton, a privileged socialite, publicly degrades Amara Daniels, believing her to be beneath her, but as whispers spread and truth surfaces, Clarissa discovers Amara is not only dignified but also the wife of billionaire Victor Daniels. What begins as a scandal in silence explodes across galas and media, where Amara's quiet resilience contrasts Clarissa's arrogance, exposing the raw face of systemic prejudice. Betrayal from friends, collapse of wealth, and isolation follow Clarissa, while Amara rises as a symbol of strength and dignity, turning her pain into a global voice. From slap to spotlight, from humiliation to empowerment, this cinematic web novel unravels privilege's downfall and dignity's triumph, leaving readers stunned at how arrogance always destroys itself. The boutique smelled of imported leather and soft jasmine perfume. Rows of gowns shimmered under golden lights, their sequins catching and scattering brilliance across glass walls. For most, this was a place of indulgence and silent reverence, but for Clarissa Houghton, it was simply her playground. Her heels clicked like a command as she swept past racks. Two saleswomen, trailing nervously. Clarissa set aside the emerald Dior and the black Saint Laurent. Honestly, this collection looks tired. I expected better. The staff nodded furiously, scribbling across the room. Amara Daniels stood in front of a mirror, a simple silk gown draped elegantly over her frame. Her posture was soft, unassuming, but there was something dignified in the way she touched the fabric, as if it were hers already. Clarissa's eyes narrowed. Clarissa scoffing. "Excuse me, is that one of ours?" The sales associate froze. "Associate Wyas Ms. Houghton. She's trying it on." Clarissa strode forward, her perfume arriving before she did. "Clarissa, you're letting anyone try on couture now. My God, standards are falling." Amara's gaze lifted slowly. Her voice was calm, steady. "Amara, I don't believe the dress belongs to you yet." The words cut sharper than Clarissa expected. She blinked, then laughed, loud, sharp, meant to draw attention. Shoppers turned. "Clarissa, oh darling, you misunderstand. Dresses like these aren't for people like you." The boutique's silence thickened. Staff shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting to the floor. Amara smoothed the gown against her hip. "Amara, I see. And who decides that?" Clarissa's face twisted, her cheeks flushing. Clarissa mocking. "Common sense, I mean. Do you honestly think you can afford this? Do you even know what couture means?" Amara didn't move. She let the insult hang, refusing to flinch. That silence was unbearable for Clarissa. Her entitlement demanded submission. The saleswomen watched, trembling, but said nothing. They had seen Clarissa destroy reputations with a single phone call. Clarissa leaned closer, her voice dripping venom. "Clarissa, you don't belong here. People like you never do." And then the sound, a sharp, skin-on-skin crack that split the silence. Gasps erupted. A child cried. Someone dropped a bag. Amara's head tilted from the force of Clarissa's slap. A flush spread across her cheek. Still, she did not speak, did not raise her hand. She only breathed slowly, adjusting the strap of the gown back on her shoulder. The boutique became a tomb of silence, all eyes on Amara. Amara softly, almost to herself. "One day, silence will not save you." Clarissa scoffed, flipping her hair, pretending the tremor in her fingers was impatience and not fear. Clarissa to the staff. "Well, don't just stand there. Escort her out before she embarrasses herself further." But no one moved. The staff looked at Amara not with pity, but with something like shame. Amara placed the dress carefully back on its hanger. She stood tall, her eyes locked with Clarissa's for the first time. Clarissa felt something sharp prick under her skin, a quiet defiance that mocked her louder than any insult could. Without another word, Amara turned and walked out. The silence she left behind was heavier than the slap itself. The video surfaced the next morning. At first, it was just a shaky clip on someone's Instagram story, the sound of a slap, a woman gasping, and Clarissa Houghton's laughter cutting through the boutique air. Within hours, it spread across platforms, uploaded, downloaded, reposted with captions that screamed, Racism in Designer Boutique entitled Socialite Slaps Black Woman. Who is she? By evening, the video had amassed 500,000 views. By dawn, it was everywhere. In her penthouse suite. Clarissa scrolled through the comments with a smirk. Clarissa laughing. Look at this. They're calling me the queen of couture justice. Can you imagine? Half of these nobodies agree with me. They know I'm right. Her friend, Madison, perched nervously on the sofa, biting at her nails. Madison, not all of them agree. Clarissa, look at the hashtags. Hashtag slap racism. Hashtag justice for her. This doesn't look good. Clarissa rolled her eyes, sipping champagne. Clarissa, darling, attention is attention. Don't you get it? This is how influence works. Outrage fuels relevance, and relevance is priceless. She tapped her phone, ignoring the sea of angry faces, the comments calling her a bigot, a disgrace, a relic of privilege. Meanwhile, across the city, Amara sat in her quiet living room, phone untouched. The video had already found its way to her, pinged through texts from concerned friends, but she refused to watch it. Her closest friend, Naomi, sat beside her. Naomi softly, Mara, the whole internet's talking about you. Amara shaking her head. No, they're talking about her. Naomi frowned. Naomi, you can't just stay silent. People saw what she did. They're waiting to hear your voice. Amara whispering. My voice won't change what they see. Naomi's eyes watered. She reached for Amara's hand, squeezing it tight. Naomi, you don't have to carry this alone. You don't have to be strong every time. Amara exhaled slowly, staring out the window. The silence around her wasn't weakness, it was armor, but armor was heavy. The internet raged on. Some commenters excused Clarissa. She was only protecting the brand's exclusivity. You can't just let anyone try on couture. Others didn't hold back. This is pure racism. She slapped her because she thought she was powerless. That woman deserves justice. Still, no one knew Amara's name, and that anonymity only fed the speculation. At a late-night dinner with her mother, Clarissa basked in her own drama. Got Clarissa smirking. They can't get enough of me. I'm trending worldwide. Double quotes. Mrs. Houghton sternly. Clarissa, this isn't the kind of press we want. The board already called. They want you to issue an apology. Clarissa snapping. Apologize. For what? For protecting class standards. For telling the truth. Her mother's lips pressed tight. Mrs. Houghton, the world is changing. What was excused before isn't tolerated now. You can't buy silence the way your father once did. Clarissa laughed bitterly. Clarissa, then maybe the world needs reminding who we are. Back in Amara's home, Naomi scrolled through the feeds, her eyes burning. Naomi, listen to this. That woman should sue her. Don't let her get away with it. Mara, people are on your side. This could change things. Amara shook her head. Amara, change doesn't come from outrage. It fades as fast as it spreads. Naomi slammed the phone down. Naomi, pleading. But what about dignity? What about justice? Amara's silence lingered. She traced a finger over the arm of the sofa. The phantom heat of that slap still imprinted on her skin. Amara quietly. Justice is patient. Dignity, it waits. By the week's end, Clarissa had become a spectacle. Paparazzi followed her to parties, snapping her, smirking, waving, blowing kisses. Reporter shouting, Clarissa, do you regret slapping her? Clarissa grinning, regret, darling, it was instinct. The laughter in her tone became the headline. In a modest cafe across town, Amara finally allowed herself to sit with the pain. She stirred her tea slowly, watching steam curl upward. Naomi sat across from her, worry etched deep in her brow. Naomi, I don't want to see you swallowed by this. Amara looked up, her eyes calm but heavy. Amara, she thinks she won, but pride blinds before it destroys. Naomi blinked, unsettled by the certainty in her friend's voice. Amara didn't need to speak out just yet. The world was already watching, and the story wasn't finished. The internet continued its frenzy. Hashtags trended, memes exploded. Clarissa became both villain and joke, her name rolling off tongues in disgust and fascination alike. But the woman at the center, the one who had been humiliated in silence, remained a mystery. For now. The Daniels residence sat tucked behind tall iron gates and a long winding drive, hidden from the city's noise. Unlike the glass towers Clarissa flaunted, this mansion carried no neon signs of excess, just understated elegance. Amara walked through the foyer with her, shoes in her hand, moving quietly. The air smelled faintly of cedar and jasmine. She dropped her purse on the console, her body finally releasing the tension she had carried since the boutique. From the study came a low voice. Victor, you're late. It was an accusation. It was concern wrapped in 3 words. Amara stepped inside. Victor Daniels sat behind a desk littered with reports. His tailored shirt sleeves were rolled to his elbows, his presence both commanding and calm. The glow of the lamp carved sharp lines across his jaw, but his eyes softened when they found her. Victor rising. I saw the video. Amara froze, lowering her gaze. Amara, I didn't want you to. Victor crossed the room, stopping in front of her. Victor, the world saw it. Do you expect me to close my eyes? Her throat tightened. She wanted to be unshaken. But his gaze cut through every layer she had built. Amara quietly. It was just a slap. Victor's hand brushed her cheek gently, his thumb grazing the faint redness that lingered in memory, if not in skin. Victor firm. No, it was an insult to your dignity, to us. She met his eyes finally, the storm inside her colliding with his unyielding calm. Amara, if we fight back, they'll twist it. They'll say I provoked her. They always do. Victor's jaw clenched. He pulled away slightly, pacing the room. Victor, you think silence will protect you? You think not speaking makes you invisible? Look what they did already. They humiliated you in front of strangers, and now the whole world debates whether you deserved it. Amara's eyes welled, but she blinked the tears away, refusing to let them fall. Amara softly, I don't want to drag you into this. Victor stopped pacing. He turned sharply, his voice edged with steel. Victor, I am already in this. Not because I'm your husband, because I'm a black man who's watched too many women swallow their pain just to survive. The words hung heavy. She wrapped her arms around herself. Silence pressed against her chest until she broke it with a whisper. Amara, I've lived with silence longer than I've lived with you. Sometimes it's the only shield I have. Victor's anger softened. He walked back, lowering his voice. Victor, and I've lived with power long enough to know shields can become cages. I didn't build all of this. He gestured at the home, the life they had just for us to shrink when we should stand tall. Amara lowered herself onto the leather armchair, curling into its embrace. Amara, and what happens when we stand tall? They shoot higher. They always do. Victor crouched in front of her, resting his hands on her knees. Victor, then let them shoot. We won't fall alone. For the first time all day, her lips quivered into a faint smile. The night deepened. They sat together in the quiet, speaking between long silences. Amara, she looked at me like I didn't belong there, like my very presence was theft. Victor's eyes hardened. Victor, because for people like her, belonging is property. They think money buys the right to decide who is worthy, but money without character is bankruptcy waiting to happen. Amara half smiling. You always did love your metaphors. Double quotes, Victor gently teasing. And you love pretending they don't make sense. Her smile faded quickly, replaced by a sigh. Amara, the internet wants me to speak, but if I do, they'll dissect me. My tone, my hair, my dress, even my silence. I'll become the symbol instead of the person. Victor studied her, quiet, for a moment. Victor, symbols change the world, but people carry the cost. Her shoulders slumped. Amara, and I'm tired of carrying. Victor reached for her hand again, threading his fingers through hers. Victor softly. Then, let me carry it with you. Tears finally spilled. Silent and reluctant, she leaned into his chest, his heartbeat steady against her cheek. Later, as she drifted to sleep in their bedroom, Victor stood at the window, staring out at the city skyline. His reflection glared back at him, powerful, wealthy, feared in boardrooms across the globe, but none of that shielded Amara from being reduced to skin and silence in a boutique. He whispered to himself, a vow forged in the quiet. Victor, she will regret ever touching you. Behind him, Amara stirred, murmuring softly in her dreams. Victor's fists tightened at his sides. He would not let her carry this alone. Not anymore. The ballroom glimmered under chandeliers dripping crystal. A sea of gowns swept across marble floors, glasses clinked, and cameras flashed as the city's elite gathered for the annual Rosemont Charity Gala. Clarissa Houghton descended the staircase like royalty, draped in scarlet silk. Heads turned. Whispers followed, Clarissa smiling smugly to Madison. See, still the queen. They can't help watching me. Madison forced a tight smile, adjusting her pearls. But the whispers were different this time. Not admiration. Not envy. Something sharper. At the bar, 2 financiers leaned close, muttering. Man 1, She's the one who slapped that woman. Right. Man 2mm went viral. My daughter won't stop showing me the clip. Man 1 snorting, reckless. Family name won't shield her forever. Clarissa's ears caught fragments, but she brushed them aside, lifting her chin higher. She made her way to a circle of society women. Clarissa brightly, darlings, have you seen the coverage? I never imagined such a small thing could stir such drama. The women exchanged glances, fans fluttering nervously. Lady Whitford hesitant. It was rather public. Clarissa with a laugh. Please, that woman was nothing. A nobody in a dress too fine for her skin. I did the boutique a favor. An awkward silence fell. One woman cleared her throat, pretending to notice someone across the room. Another quickly excused herself. Clarissa's smile faltered. Elsewhere, Amara arrived quietly, hand in Victor's. She wore a navy gown, understated yet regal. No diamonds, no gaudy flash, just grace. The room shifted subtly when they entered. People who had turned from Clarissa turned now toward them at tide. Clarissa had not expected Victor greeted acquaintances with nods, his presence commanding but measured. Amara walked at his side, posture calm, eyes steady. She did not seek attention, yet it found her. Guest whispering, "That's Victor Daniels, isn't it?" Another guest, and his wife. She rarely comes to these. Third guest hushed. She's exquisite. Who knew? Clarissa, across the room, noticed. Her lips thinned. She turned back to Madison, her voice low and sharp. Clarissa, who is that woman? Everyone's staring at her. Madison swallowed. Madison, that's Amara Daniels, Victor's wife. Clarissa blinked, then scoffed. Clarissa Victor Daniels, the so-called philanthropist. What could she possibly? But her words stuck. Recognition flickered. She had seen that face before. The boutique, the gown, the silence. Her stomach twisted, but she masked it with a brittle laugh. Clarissa, well, how amusing. I suppose even billionaires collect strays. Madison's eyes widened, horrified. Meanwhile, Amara and Victor spoke with Senator Grayson and his wife, Senator Grayson. Mrs. Daniels, your presence tonight is an honor. Your work with the Literacy Foundation has touched lives far beyond this city. Amara inclined her head gently. Amara, it is not my work alone. Change is always collective. Her voice carried like silk, quiet, but it lingered. Those nearby leaned closer, compelled. Victor smiled faintly at her side. Clarissa watched from across the ballroom, her nails biting into her champagne glass. Later, as the orchestra swelled and couples danced, Clarissa maneuvered toward a cluster of men discussing business ventures. Clarissa inserting herself. Gentlemen, I couldn't help overhearing. If you're speaking of expansion, my family has always led those conversations. The men exchanged thin smiles, polite but dismissive. Man 3, we were actually speaking with Mr. Daniels earlier. His insights were invaluable. Clarissa stiffened. Clarissa Daniels, surely you don't mean Man 3 with a chuckle. Yes, the Daniels. Hard to imagine a room without them. Clarissa's throat tightened. She excused herself abruptly, fury simmering. In a quiet corner, Victor leaned close to Amara. Victor softly. You're holding yourself with grace that makes me want to roar. She smiled faintly. Amara, grace is louder than noise. Sometimes, his hand brushed hers, grounding her. Across the room, Clarissa glared, her scarlet gown burning like rage incarnate. By the gala's end, Clarissa felt the shift. The same people who once clung to her every word now gravitated toward Amara and Victor. The whispers that followed Clarissa carried judgment, not admiration. As she stood alone near the exit, Madison touched her arm. Madison whispering, you shouldn't have come tonight. Clarissa jerked her hand away. Clarissa through clenched teeth. No, she shouldn't have come. Her eyes stayed locked on Amara across the room, radiant even in silence. For the first time, Clarissa felt something gnaw at her invincible veneer. Not guilt. Fear. The orchestra played a waltz, strings swelling, as the ballroom pulsed with elegance. But Clarissa wasn't listening. Her eyes tracked Amara across the floor, each step of her gown stirring something ugly in Clarissa's chest. She couldn't stand it anymore. Glass in hand, Clarissa strode toward her, heads turned as though a storm was brewing, and it was Clarissa with a mocking smile. Well, look who's decided to step out of the shadows. Amara turned slowly. Her eyes met Clarissa's with calm recognition. Amara measured. Good evening. The civility stung. Clarissa laughed too loudly. Clarissa, evening, darling. This isn't some corner boutique. You don't just wander in and pretend you belong. Gasps rippled. A senator's wife coughed into her glass. Someone whispered, "Is she really doing this here?" Amara didn't flinch. Amara quietly. "And yet, here I am." The calm in her tone, unsettled. Clarissa more than defiance would have docked Clarissa snapping. "Do you know who you're standing in front of? This is my world. I built my place here. And women like you," Victor's voice cut through like thunder. Victor stepping forward. "Women like her are the foundation you stand on." The crowd hushed. Eyes widened. Clarissa blinked at the man who appeared beside Amara, tall, commanding, his presence drawing gravity itself. Clarissa faltering. "And you are—" Victor smiled faintly, no warmth in it. Victor Daniels. Perhaps you've heard the name." The silence deepened. Someone dropped their glass. A ripple of realization passed through the room. Clarissa's lips parted, but no sound came. She had heard the name. Everyone had. Billionaire, philanthropist, quiet, power broker behind half the city's major deals. And this woman she had slapped was his wife. The whispers started. Immediately. Whisper 1. "That's her. The woman from the video." Whisper 2. "My God, she's Amara Daniels." Whisper 3. "Clarissa is finished." Clarissa's skin burned. She forced a brittle laugh. Clarissa raising her voice. "Oh, please, you can't expect us to believe this. This nobody is." Victor stepped closer, his voice low but caring. "Victor, careful with your words. That nobody is my wife, and she is everything you will never be." The ballroom froze. Clarissa's laugh died in her throat. Amara remained silent, her gaze steady on Clarissa. That silence, once Clarissa's weapon, now became a blade against her. A journalist, quick to seize drama, slipped closer with a recorder. Reporter hesitant. "Mrs. Daniels, would you like to comment on the incident at the boutique?" The question hung heavy. All eyes on Amara. She tilted her head slightly, her voice calm, almost tender. "Amara, what is there to say? Dignity cannot be purchased, and arrogance cannot erase it." A murmur surged through the crowd, half gasp, half applause stifled in throats. Clarissa's face contorted. Clarissa snapping, "Don't you dare turn this into some sermon. You think money makes you untouchable? You think hiding behind a man's name makes you superior?" Amara's eyes softened, her lips curving just slightly. "Amara, I never hid behind anything, but it seems you've been hiding behind your last name your entire life." The words landed like a slap, louder than the one Clarissa had given weeks ago. The crowd erupted in whispers, some openly laughing now, some shaking their heads. Clarissa's hand trembled. She raised her glass as if to speak again, but Madison caught her wrist, whispering frantically. Madison pleading, "Stop, you're making it worse." Clarissa yanked her arm free, but the damage was done. Her power had drained with every whisper, every sidelong glance. Victor placed a protective hand at the small of Amara's back. Victor to the crowd, his voice calm but commanding. "We appreciate your support, but understand this. Wealth does not grant you the right to demean. Power does not excuse cruelty." We all witnessed that truth tonight. Heads nodded, eyes avoided Clarissa. The tide had turned, fully, irreversibly. Amara lifted her chin, her silence louder than any speech could have been. Clarissa stumbled back, her composure fracturing, her scarlet gown suddenly gaudy instead of regal. Clarissa weakly, to herself, This isn't over." But the room had already moved on. As Amara and Victor exited, flashes from cameras lit their path. Journalists rushed forward, microphones extended, but Amara simply smiled softly, her silence carrying dignity. Behind them, Clarissa stood, abandoned in the ballroom, her glass empty, her name now a punchline on every whispering tongue. For the first time in her life, she realized something terrifying. Her world was no longer hers. The morning after the gala, the headline screamed louder than the orchestra ever had. Socialite who slapped black woman humiliated at gala. The slapped nobody revealed as Billionaire's wife. Clarissa Hutton Fies Amara Daniels, a tale of power, privilege, and poise. Clips circulated of Clarissa's tirade and Amara's calm reply. The internet, once divided, now leaned heavily against Clarissa. In her penthouse, Clarissa hurled a vase against the wall. Shards scattered across marble. Clarissa screaming, "They're making me the villain. I'm the victim here. Do you know the pressure I'm under?" Her mother stood stiffly, arms crossed. Mrs. Houghton coldly, "No, Clarissa, you're not the victim. You're at the scandal." Clarissa desperate, "It's just the internet. They'll move on." Mrs. Houghton's eyes hardened. "Mrs. Houghton, Sponsorships are calling to drop you. Charities won't have your name listed. And investors are reconsidering our projects. This isn't just gossip. This is collapse. Clarissa's breath quickened, Clarissa whispering, "No, no, they can't, they wouldn't dare. Mrs. Houghton, they already have, across town." Amara sat in the Daniels library, phone buzzing endlessly. Victor stood near the window, scrolling through news updates. Victor, it's everywhere. They're asking for interviews. The public wants to hear from you. Amara set her phone down, staring at the hardwood floor. Amara, do they want to hear from me, or from the symbol they've made me into? Victor turned, his voice softer. Victor, both, but the choice is yours. She clasped her hands together, trembling slightly. Amara, if I speak, they'll dissect everything. My tone, my smile, my silence. They'll look for reasons to say, I deserved it. Victor crossed the room and knelt before her. Victor, and if you stay silent, they'll let her write the story for you. Amara's eyes glistened. She hated the truth in his words. That night, Amara agreed to one interview, just one, a sit-down, no glamour, no script. The studio was small, intimate, a single camera. The journalist, Lena Morales, began gently. Lena, Mrs. Daniels, why now? Why speak after so many days of silence? Amara breathed deeply. Amara, because silence is heavy, and because dignity cannot defend itself if you never let it speak. The room seemed to hold its breath. Lena, what do you want people to know about that day? Amara's eyes lowered briefly, then lifted with quiet strength. Amara, that humiliation is not new, not for women like me. The slap was public, but the message behind it, it's centuries old. You don't belong. You don't deserve. You aren't worthy. And yet here I stand. The interviewer swallowed hard. Lena softly. And what about Clarissa Houghton? A long silence stretched. Amara didn't rush to fill it. Amara finally. I don't wish her ruin. I wish her awakening. But justice doesn't wait for someone to change. It arrives whether they're ready or not. The clip aired the next day. Within hours, it spread across every platform. Her words were quoted, reposted, echoed in classrooms, boardrooms, churches, and homes. Dignity cannot defend itself if you never let it speak. The line became a mantra. Amara Nanos was no longer anonymous. She was a voice. Meanwhile, Clarissa doubled down. At a press conference arranged by her PR team, she stood in a fitted white suit, cameras flashing. Clarissa smiling tightly. What happened at the boutique was misunderstood. I acted in defense of brand standards. It wasn't about race. Reporters erupted. Reporter 1. But the footage clearly shows. Clarissa snapping. Footage can be manipulated. Reporter 2. Mrs. Daniels said. Clarissa cutting off. Mrs. Daniels is using this to elevate herself. I won't be a stepping stone for her ambition. The room buzzed with disbelief. Back in the Daniels home, Naomi clapped her hands together, fuming as she watched the live stream. Naomi, she's digging her own grave. Can you believe the arrogance? Amara only sighed, lowering the volume. Amara, arrogance always believes it's immortal. Victor slipped an arm around her shoulders, pressing a kiss to her temple. Victor, and yet it always collapses. By week's end, the contrast between the two women defined the narrative. Clarissa, defensive, shrill, unrepentant. Amara.com/dignified, resilient, commentators, filled screens. Amara Daniels redefines grace under fire. Clarissa Houghton, the fall of privilege. The tides of power had turned, and the whispers Clarissa once ignored now roared like waves, pulling her under. The emails came first. Subject: termination of sponsorship. Subject: we regret to inform you. Subject: effective immediately. Our partnership is dissolved. Clarissa scrolled through them in disbelief, her hands trembling. Every luxury brand she had once flaunted now stripped her name from campaigns. Designers who once begged her to wear their gowns now issued statements of zero tolerance for discrimination. She hurled her phone across the penthouse, shattering it against the wall. Clarissa screaming, "They're cowards, every last one of them." Her father summoned her to the family estate. The study smelled of leather and brandy, but the air was thick with disappointment. Mr. Houghton sternly, "Do you understand what you've cost us? Our investments in Europe are on hold. Investors are walking away." Clarissa's eyes widened. Clarissa, because of her, because of one woman. Her father slammed his fist against the desk. Mr. Houghton, because of you. Because you thought arrogance was power. You embarrassed this family, and now the market punishes us all. She shrank back, for once speechless. Madison came to visit days later, twisting her pearls nervously. Clarissa rushed toward her like a drowning woman clutching a rope. Clarissa, finally, someone loyal, tell me you're still with me. Madison's face was pale. Madison, Clarissa, I can't. My husband's firm is under pressure just for being seen with you. They say your name is poison. Clarissa grabbed her arm desperately. Clarissa pleading, after everything we've shared, you're abandoning me too. Madison pulled free, tears in her eyes. Madison, you abandoned yourself the moment you raised your hand against her. She left without looking back. Clarissa collapsed onto the sofa, a sob clawing its way out of her chest. The press circled like vultures. Paparazzi caught her leaving the estate in oversized sunglasses, her once practiced wave reduced to a frantic shield. Headlines mocked her. Clarissa Houghton hides behind shades. From heiress to has-been, the socialite in decline. She turned on the TV one night and saw late-night comedians mimicking her voice, replaying the slap again and again. The audience roared with laughter. Clarissa to herself, whispering, I'm not a joke, I'm not. Her voice cracked. Even her inner circle evaporated. Group chats once filled with champagne emojis now fell silent. Invitations vanished. The gala circuit carried on without her. Clarissa showed up uninvited to one event, wrapped in a glittering gown as if nothing had changed. But when she entered the ballroom, conversations died. Faces turned. No one approached. She tried to insert herself into a group of women she had once led, Clarissa forcing a laugh. Darling, it's been too long. One woman lifted her glass, her smile tight. Woman, yes, and it should stay that way. They turned their backs. Clarissa stood frozen, humiliation burning hotter than the boutique slap ever had. Back at her penthouse, bills piled, deals frozen. Lawyers called. Her reflection in the mirror startled her eyes, bloodshot, hair unkempt, the gloss of privilege stripped away. She slammed her palms against the glass. Clarissa, to herself, I am Clarissa Holt. I don't fall, I don't break. But the reflection didn't believe her anymore. Meanwhile, Amara's interview clips continued to circulate, her calm voice replayed against Clarissa's tirades. Commentators dissected every contrast, dignity versus arrogance, poise versus collapse. Victor watched one evening broadcast, turning to Amara with quiet pride. Victor, she's unraveling, and you haven't even lifted a hand. Amara's gaze softened. Amara, I didn't need to. Arrogance destroys itself by the month's end. Clarissa sat alone in her darkened apartment, curtains drawn, silence pressing in. Her phone, a new one, lay on the coffee table, buzzing with calls she no longer wanted to answer. From adored socialite to pariah in weeks, her empire hadn't been stolen. It had crumbled from within. And somewhere deep down, for the first time, Clarissa felt the faintest flicker of dread. Maybe Amara's silence had been the loudest answer of all. The city buzzed with anticipation. The Daniels Foundation was hosting its annual charity gala, the same stage Clarissa once dominated, the same circle she once ruled. But this year, the spotlight had shifted. The guest of honor was Amara Daniels. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, laughter, and the hum of admiration. Reporters lined the entrance, eager to capture the billionaire's wife who had turned humiliation into empowerment. Amara arrived in a flowing emerald gown, Victor by her side. Cameras flashed, but her calm smile never faltered. She wasn't just being seen tonight, she was being honored. Reporter, Mrs. Daniels, what message do you hope tonight sends? Amara's voice was steady, resonant. Amara, that dignity is not a costume you put on. It's who you are when the world tries to strip you bare. Applause erupted even before she entered the ballroom. Meanwhile, across town, Clarissa sat alone in her penthouse, dressed in silence rather than silk. The invitations that once poured in had dried up. No reporters waited at her door. No cameras flashed. The city that once praised her now pitied her, or worse, ignored her. Her TV flickered with coverage of the gala. Amara's face filled the screen, radiant, graceful, applauded by the same crowd that once bowed to Clarissa. Clarissa's jaw clenched. She picked up her wineglass, fingers shaking. Clarissa to herself, bitterly, they worship her now, because she played the victim. But as the applause thundered through her speakers, a crack formed in her conviction. Somewhere, deep down, she knew the truth. Amara had never needed to play a victim. She had simply been herself, and that was enough. Inside the gala, Naomi clinked her glass against Amara. Single quotes. Us. Naomi grinning. Do you realize this? You've become the symbol they can't ignore. Amara laughed softly, almost shy. Amara, symbols are heavy things to carry. Naomi, then let them carry you, for once. Victor slid an arm around Amara, whispering warmly. Victor, I've always said they underestimated you, and now they'll never forget you. Amara's smile was tender, but her eyes burned with something deeper. She hadn't set out for vengeance, yet somehow justice had found its way to her feet. Later that night, the gala's host stepped onto the stage. Host, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor not only generosity but resilience. Amara Daniels has turned her pain into power, her silence into a voice for many. Please welcome her to the stage. The crowd rose in a standing ovation. Amara walked up slowly, each step measured, her emerald gown sweeping across marble floors. At the podium, she paused, letting the clapping fade into silence. Amara, I never imagined standing here, not because I didn't believe in myself, but because the world often convinces women like me that we don't belong on stages like this, that we should shrink, stay silent, stay grateful for scraps of dignity. A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience. Amara, but silence is not protection, and humiliation is not destiny. What happened to me could have broken me. Instead, it revealed the cracks in something larger, a system that decides worth based on skin, status, or surnames. She let her gaze sweep across the crowd. Amara firmly, and to that system, I say, no more. Applause erupted, fierce and thunderous. Back in her penthouse, Clarissa hurled the remote at the TV. The screen cracked, freezing Amara's image mid-speech. Tears blurred Clarissa's vision. Clarissa sobbing, it was supposed to be me. It was always supposed to be me. Her sobs echoed in the hollow space. No friends to comfort her. No cameras to glamorize her pain. Just silence. And for the first time, Clarissa Houghton truly felt invisible. At the gala. As the evening drew to a close, Amara slipped out onto the balcony. The city lights stretched endlessly, glittering like scattered diamonds. Victor joined her, sliding his hand into hers. Victor, how do you feel? Amara breathed deeply, the cool night air filling her lungs. Amara lighter, as if the weight of silence has finally lifted. Victor kissed her hand, his smile proud. Victor, you didn't just lift it for yourself, you lifted it for so many others who never had the chance. Amara looked out at the skyline, a quiet strength radiating from her. Amara, then let this not be the end, but the beginning. The gala continued behind them, music swelling, voices laughing, champagne flowing, but on that balcony, something larger crystallized. Amara Daniels was no longer just a name tied to a billionaire. She was a voice, a symbol, a woman who had endured public humiliation and transformed it into power. And while Clarissa Houghton sat alone, in the ruins of her pride, Amara stood surrounded by light. Justice hadn't come with another slap. It had come with silence, dignity, and the collapse of arrogance. That was the poetry of it.